Chapter 1. 9 months later. I'm going to be leaving Paris with a lot more items than I came with. There'd been that shopping spree with Dom all those months ago. And at Christmas time, Elio spoiled me and got me plenty of gifts, since we don't celebrate with our other family. It was a nice holiday anyways, because Elio's a good big brother. I'm a horrible sister, but I want to make it up to him somehow. I lied to him about Dom, but he also lied to me when he called himself a successful businessman, and not the mobster he actually is. It's technically dirty money we're spending, but I just never really addressed it again. Maybe because I've had to make some hard choices myself to survive. He tells me it's really just doing business work for DeLuca Holdings, and I believe him. I hope I regain his trust the same way. Because I had more things with me in Paris, I had to go buy myself another luggage bag. One of those huge ones with the rolling wheels. Everything else in the apartment had already come with the place. The newer apartment was a pretty decent space. It was sort of narrow in the way these buildings in Paris can be. When you walked through the front door, you entered one archway to the short hall. That leads you to the second archway where the modest kitchen/living room is located, and past that is the third arch that leads to my bedroom and connecting bath. The interior reminded me of the place me and Sophia lived in together. The walls always seemed to have similar French-style crown molding. The walls are all white and some were concrete. I think it's where they connect old buildings to new renovations. The bones of all the architecture here is old, which gives it a nice historical feel. Funny enough, this place also had a brickish-colored square-back sofa, but it was less reddish and more orange. I will say, it helped leaving the apartment that held the only and last memories of Dom there. I lived completely alone, which was a first for me. I always had dorm mates, roommates, or boyfriends. I enjoyed it though. It brought a sense of peace to my otherwise hectic life. Living with Elio was fine, and I'd only been there for such a short time. There's something about my upbringing with a terrible father that put me so on edge it was still instilled in me. To tiptoe around every place I lived in, and to make myself scarce. Even with Elio sometimes. Living with Sophia helped change that for me, and especially now living on my own. I could do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted to do it. I could walk around naked or eat sweets for dinner. I could sing, laugh, cry, and leave a few dirty dishes in the sink overnight without getting beat for it. This is freedom. I was so busy with work and all the added stuff I started doing for Karl Lagerfeld, that this became my quiet space. Where I sought refuge for the calmness I only recently discovered existed. My internship is technically over with Vogue and Cynthia DuPont. I finished yesterday after her farewell gift of making me run between floors to do inventory and run things to print. She's also throwing me a small dinner, so I'm not complaining. The woman helped change my life. We've become friends, not just a boss and intern. Since that dinner isn't today, I've taken the time to pack all my clothes, shoes, and bags. I'll only leave exactly enough clothes to last me until the day of my flight. Amelia and Vanessa offered to help me pack, but when they came they just drank wine and danced around, so that was that. I'd stopped and joined them. Today Louise offered the same to me, but she's actually here in my bedroom folding clothes. Trying to compact enough to squeeze everything in. I've always really liked Louise. All the girls here were so fun and definitely good time girls. She is too, but you can also have a pretty tame conversation with her, and really connect on a level beyond fun. I'll miss these girls though. They've entertained me and Sophia since almost the start of all this. What are you thinking about? Louisa's voice brought me back to the present. I was just thinking about our group. You guys always knew how to show us a good time. And learn French. I'm proud to say I can have a conversation in French, albeit on a grade school level, but still. I know a lot of words, just not always ones strung together in perfect sentences. I will say, your accent is pretty good for an American. Sophia was god-awful, she teased me, which got me to snort a laugh. Lucy always has such posh style, so she actually enjoyed raiding my closet before helping me pack. I never asked what your brother did for work. I know he gave you a lot of very beautiful gifts. I was jealous, she wiggled her eyebrows at me. All the girls were friends with are actually well off financially. Sophia found them, so it doesn't surprise me. The rich seem to flock to the rich. I don't consider myself rich, because I don't take very much from my brother. My brother is rich. I dreaded the question Louise just asked me though. I never know if the lie is believable, and I also just hate lying. I can't tell people my brother's in the Italian mob. I just can't say that, so I say, oh, he's this big-time businessman for a wealthy company. I don't know what the heck they do, but I know it's prestigious, which isn't exactly a lie. She just pushed her bottom lip out and nodded without thinking much of it. That's the response I like getting. Realistically, if he did work for some big company, I wouldn't know what the hell he did anyway, so I think that's why the lie sounds so believable. Louise crossed to my side of the mattress and bumped hips with me. We'd been standing on either side, separating the clothes. It made me look up from what I was doing. She's a very pretty girl with a large cupid's bow lip and a wide smile. Her eyes are a similar green to mine, which I don't often see. It's the kind of muted green that isn't as loud as a sparkling emerald. It's kind of pretty green though. I always loved that Elio and I had the same ones. They took after my mother's side, which is good, even though she isn't. You kept spacing out. Is everything all right? Lucy asked me when she came over. I smiled and nodded yes. I just have a lot on my mind. I don't want to forget anything. I had some loose ends to tie up with work. Stuff like that. I waved off her inquiry. I hate goodbyes, she told me in her cute French accent, rounding the mattress again to the other side. Me too, I've never really had to do one before. When I left it was very permanent. I cleared my throat. They knew some details of my past, but not enough. Even with Dom, he didn't grant me the courtesy of a goodbye. He stormed out mid-conversation with me, and never spoke to me again. I guess that's what I do to other people. It's not fun being on the other side of it. Granted, most of the people I left were my abusers, so that hardly counts. Are you sure it isn't about that guy? I know time is ticking down. Doesn't he live with your brother? She read my mind. Huh? Oh no, he lives in our building, but I wasn't thinking about him. I lied again. Her small smile told me she wasn't buying it anyway. Julian seems like a fun guy. Isn't he going to America with you? Focus on that. He's so handsome, she told me. She never met Dom or she'd understand. There's handsome, and then there's Domani DeLuca. He surpasses that by a long shot. He's addictive, alluring, dark, beautiful, sexy, and hot. He's perfectly imperfect, and it drew me to him, even when I knew it would end in heartbreak. Mine, not his. Julian isn't coming with me to America. He's going with Carl as his PR agent. I made that slight correction. She laughed and it split across most of her face. You'll be with Carl, he'll be with Carl. Sounds like you're going together, she challenged me. I rolled my eyes and caught the shirt she playfully threw. Coming with me implies something more serious than it is. I'll be working with Carl in New York, him being there is just a coincidence. You get what I mean? I tipped my head, unsure if I sound ridiculous or if that made any sense beyond my own head. Yeah, true. You know, the girls and I envy you like crazy, yes? You will be a famous designer one day and I'll wear all your clothes. Promise, she held a pinky up. I laughed and leaned over the bed to link pinkies. I doubted myself before, but I already designed some clothes for Chanel, so I don't think I doubt myself anymore. I think I know that I can do this. If I make the right choices, and stick with the right people, I think I can become Mia Fiore, her own brand. Like Carl, I smiled fondly at the idea. You've done more than people who've been in the industry for years, so I have no doubt. It was nice to hear. I got lucky. I got lucky when Dom introduced me to Helen Barton, and again when I met Cynthia through Helen. Without that, none of this would have come into fruition. And obviously through that I met Carl. We just hit it off. I'm really lucky, I reiterated. You have talent, or else meeting the important people wouldn't have mattered much. They would overlook you. She said something I actually hadn't thought about before. She saw my expression change and knew I'd just become thoughtful. I've never thought of it that way. I attribute most of this to luck, I chuckled. Louise held a dress up to herself and glanced at the mirror leaning against my wall. Absent-mindedly she added, "What does fruition mean?" You said it came into fruition. I am unfamiliar with this word. I laughed a little bit, just by the way she said it. It just means when a plan comes together, I clarified. She nodded in understanding, but stuck to her original point once she dropped the dress into the luggage. We make our own luck. Vouloir, c'est pouvoir, she said in French. When I tipped my head in confusion, she smirked. To want to is to be able to. This is a French saying, she explained, and I really liked the sound of it. In both French and its English translation. Say it again. I want to learn the words, I asked her. When she slowed it down for me, I learned the correct word pronunciation, repeating it until I remembered. It's how Sophia and I would learn things in the beginning. We'd be in the kitchen cooking dinner or something, and we'd repeat the phrases, or words we learned until it kind of just got stuck in our heads. Vouloir c'est pouvoir. To want to is to be able to. If this is the last French you ever teach me, then I think you chose a good one, I smiled. You will come to visit often when you become famous. Carl is always back and forth between several places, I'm sure. The thing is, I don't know how long I'm gonna be hanging around Carl. I just happened to tell him my internship was up, and I'd be returning to New York. And he said, I have plenty to do in New York, and that sort of ended that. Julian contacted me after the fact. He told me Carl arranged our flight and everything. The man is strange in the best way. So, I guess our journey continues from there. He hasn't told me what exactly he has to do in New York. I work well with him because I don't ask too many questions when he's vague this way. It annoys him when people worry too much. He doesn't believe stress is real, that it's of our own making, which I guess is sort of true, but not entirely preventable. Anyways, I just don't ask too many questions. I go with the flow, and it hasn't steered me wrong yet. Do you have much that makes you wish to stay put? She must have read something in my expression to ask me such a question. Do I have anything that would keep me in New York? I faced that question 9 months ago, and it didn't end well. My brother, was all I said. Why are you smiling? I had to ask when she said nothing, only keeping her shapely Cupid's bow lips tipped up into a smirk. No reason, she feigned innocence. When the luggage was full, we leaned on it and zipped it up. Well? I had to ask a second time because she never answered the question. I just think you have a little more than you let on. More things or more people? I knew what she meant, but still asked so I wouldn't have to answer. Darling, you were heartbroken for many months, yes? Distance was the band-aid, not the cure, she called me out. Jesus, Louise, when did you become so wise and inspirational? I huffed at her. She threw her head back and laughed like nothing bad has ever touched her in the world. Carefree as Sophia, because she can be. You don't know the word fruition, but you know band-aid and cure, I grumbled to myself about her advanced English. Louise zipped her lips and waved me over to grab the second large suitcase. Time is winding down more quickly than I would have liked. Am I ready for New York? What am I afraid of? Chapter 2, Dom's POV. My gun was pulled apart while I cleaned the weapon as you're supposed to. It was spread across the living room table along with my short glass of whiskey. I know Elio called a meeting. I just have no idea why. He said he's on his way home, so I figure I'm about to find out. Alessandro was in the group text, so I assume he's coming too. If it's about the fucking Dominicans, I swear to God, I'm gonna string one up by his throat, like the cartel love doing to make a point. Right in front of his boss's headquarters or whatever the fuck they call it. Machismo. It's a stupid name for an even more stupid guy. If you're trying to make a name for yourself, at least do better research on what team you should be on. I know what he's doing though. I'd do the same, just in a smarter, less obvious way. He allied with a weaker group because he plans on using them to destroy me, then betraying them, taking over the Irish also. He wants to take Philly, but he knew if he tried I'd find that is a threat too close to home. I wouldn't allow a new guy on the block. Better the devil you know than one you don't. I know how the O'Reillys function. I don't know this guy, and I don't particularly like it. Before I could put together my gun, I was already hearing the ping of the elevator. It lets me know someone's coming up. It was my cousin, and Elio wasn't far behind him. They don't even acknowledge guns at this point, so they ignored my task. They poured themselves a glass of what I was having, before even speaking a word of hello. Get to it then. I was speaking to Elio since he's the one that called this meeting. I don't like people who beat around the bush. If they have too much to say, then what they're saying is probably bullshit. It only took him a second longer to pull up a chair I have for aesthetic purposes. Alessandro took the couch with me. I know this has been a taboo name in our conversations, but I can't wait any longer to bring this up. Mia's coming home in a few days, and I need to know how worried I should be about her safety. He looked at me pointedly. My hands stopped moving at the mention of her name, but then I continued to clean my gun. With my eyes still cast down, I answered him plainly. If they're brave enough to fuck with the sister of a high-ranking official, then they'll be ballsier than I thought. Still, you can put some men together for security. I'll let you make the call on who. I gave him my permission. He might have his own group of men, but they all still fall under my rule. To take them off task for a whole separate job, he needs my permission, as much as he probably hates to ask. How many? He questioned right away. I shrugged, but continued with my hands. A few, I don't know. When I finally did look up, I could see my buddy studying me. I don't like that shit. You need to say something? I called him out. This isn't going to be a problem, is it? I knew what he meant, but worked around it. I don't know what you're referring to. What's a problem, aside from those pricks trying to close in on us? I made it about work, because that's what this is. This isn't about Mia Fiore. This is about my left-hand man asking for protection over his family. It's a common ask when we're having a code red here. Alessandro's family is my family, which means automatic protection regardless. Elio didn't immediately say anything. He studied me for a second longer, which was pissing me off. After I put my gun back together, I cocked it and glanced back at the two men who were both looking at me. I don't like talking about this when you got that loaded gun in your hand, my smart-ass cousin remarked. Elio, keep looking at me like that and I'll take a toe. You know I have the aim for it, I insinuated with my gun in my hand. I like feeling the heavy metal. I like the control over something this dangerous. Elio grit his teeth at me, but didn't overly react. I'm just checking. You've been a loose cannon recently. I'd rather know now if problems are gonna arise with M. I didn't let him finish. Drop it. I have, is all I'll say on the matter. Elio huffed and glanced at Alessandro, but he did as he was told and dropped it. When Elio was satisfied with my permission to put protection on the girl, he left. Alessandro didn't, and I could feel his damn eyes on me, which only irks me more. Can I help you? I finally glanced his way. I didn't want to say anything in front of him, but I just want to be sure that there isn't actually trouble coming. I need you to focus on this looming war that's in front of us. The girl made your head unclear, he told me. I grit my teeth and didn't respond for a second. How do I put this lightly? Alessandro, Mia isn't the reason why I got more serious about business. I'm serious because I want it all. And I'll take it. With force. I get what I fucking want, I snapped at him. He cleared his throat, but almost looked to be second-guessing his next words. We're an arm's length away on the sofa. It's within swinging distance if I put the effort in. You didn't get what you wanted though, did you? That's my point, you like control and you had none there. He said the words he probably should have second-guessed a little bit harder. Shut the fuck up about this already. You and Elio talk about it more than I do. That was 9 fucking months ago. The amount of pussy I've had since then drowned out any reminder of the good fuck she was. And that's all she was. A good fuck. I gave him a warning instead of a beating for now. He opened and closed his mouth. Good choice. You're still fucking the Rizzo girl anyways, aren't you? I chuckled, I am. Just to piss Conry off. The idiot wanted to marry the girl. That's since been dropped, after he threatened me during a sit-down last year. That's really where all this bad blood steams from now? I killed one of his goons for pulling a gun on me, plus, the Rizzo girl is hot. We've somewhat grown up together since her father's the head of his crime family below us. If and when I see Conry again, I'll be sure to give him a detailed description of what his ex-fiancée's pussy tastes like. Alessandro threw his head back and laughed. He's pulled a gun on you for less, he reminded me, still with an amused smirk. Oh, I'd love for him to try again. I withheld killing him the first time out of respect for his father. But if he pulls a gun on me again, it'll be the last thing he sees before I put a bullet between his eyes. I checked my watch and noted the time. Listen, all this talk about murder has me horny. I'm calling the Rizzo girl, so get out, I deadpanned. He laughed again. That's downright sadistic, he shook his head at me. Alessandro stood up and bowed out. Have a good fuck then, he called to me while entering the elevator. I wasn't kidding when I said I'd call the Rizzo girl. I sent her a text and no more than 10 minutes later she was agreeing to meet up. I don't like these random chicks in my house. Even if she's a little mafia princess, I'm still the head of the Italian mob and I have enemies. I don't let people know what the inside of my house looks like or how to get there. I certainly don't want to soil my sheets with their pussy juice. I'm not even being vain when I say I can make a girl wet. There's living proof walking around all of New York City. Throw a stone at a hot chick and I've probably already fucked her. Since my gun was put back together, I was already set to leave the house. When she sent me the eggplant emoji with hard eyes and a wet squirt, I knew she was ready for me too. Gianna Rizzo was known in Little Italy as the mafia princess. She's spoiled, bitchy, and feisty even though she's super girly like my sisters are. Sophia hates her, but my other sister, Isabella, is friends with the girl. The girl's got a full head of dark hair I like to pull when I fuck her. Caramel-colored eyes, and she's a bit taller, being about 5 feet 6 inches or 5 feet 7 inches. Or maybe it's her nice legs that she often flaunts that makes her look taller than she is. There isn't much particularly interesting about her beyond that. She has a good body because she's disciplined about maintaining it. Always has been. She has an apartment in Upper Manhattan that's obviously fit for the princess she is. I've been here plenty of times, so I just let myself up and knocked when I got there. Hey Domani, Gianna was already in an outfit I know she put on just to entice me. An easy dress that was short enough to flaunt those tan legs of hers. She offered me something to drink, but that's not what I'm here for. She knows what I'm here for. Where do you want to go? She bit her lip, giving me the option of where I want to fuck her. My eyes took her in from head to toe. Thin slip dress, short, easy access to anything I'd need. I looked at the girl while undoing my belt buckle. Her eyes dropped to what my hands were doing. Well, you made this so easy for me, so how about I bend you over right here? I patted her kitchen table. She smiled slightly, but tried to hide it behind a sultry gaze. When she came to me, she started kissing me, which I guess is fine. For the girls I fuck, I don't always kiss them. I do plenty of other things to make them finish quite satisfied, but kissing is more intimate and unnecessary. But again, it was fine, so when she kissed me, I grabbed a fistful of that yankable hair, tipping her head to deepen the kiss she started. You could hear the clinking of my belt that was already undone. I walked Gianna backwards against the short table I planned to fuck her on. For now, I started to undress her. I won't get fully undressed, but I want to see her body. She works for it. I might as well enjoy it. Get naked, I ordered when she kept interrupting my taking off her clothes by kissing me in between. She listened easily and removed what little she had on. I licked my lips and took in the sight of her. How do I want her? Should I bend you over right away, or should I be nice and give you an orgasm first? I asked her just to fuck with her. Make me come, please. She wasn't afraid to ask. Mafia princesses have big personalities, or at least that's